Hey, Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise My Sexual Life. This is a place to be for education, lifestyle, entertainment, and all things asexual. So, yes, tonight I've got a movie review for you. So, Garfield, the Garfield movie 2024. I went to see it earlier, and I have to say, this film is awesome. And now I'm going to tell you why. If you don't want spoilers, please do not watch this video because I am going to reveal the plot. So, the Garfield movie 2024. I didn't know if I would like this movie or not. I thought I'd like it and I was looking forward to it. But what I mean to say is, I didn't know that I'd like it this much because I thought it would be quite kind of an old storyline, but it was an amazing storyline. So funny. I loved the movie. So I thought they packed tons of stuff in there, a lot of funny stuff, sad stuff. You go through a whole range of roller coaster emotions in this movie, from feeling really sad and upset to really joyous to then sad again. And like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So, okay, let's go for it. So, Garfield is a baby when we see the movie progress. So, in the beginning, Garfield's an adult cat, and Garfield decides to tell their own story. And so, you then go into the Garfield story that Garfield is meant to be telling, and it's a baby Garfield. Baby Garfield is so super cute. I like, oh, he's so cute. I just want to take him home with me. I'm like, you're too cute. You're too cute. And he's got his little doughy eyes, and it's like, take me home. Take me home. So I'm like, this is just too cute. You know, when something cuteness overload, that's what baby Garfield was, cuteness overload. So I saw what happened. Basically, it's really interesting. You think you know what's happened, but it's not quite the way it seems. And you don't find it out till much later in the movie, probably 3/4 of the way through the movie. So little baby Garfield is in this place. The dad Garfield, because they've got a father Garfield in it, leaves the baby Garfield and says, I'll be back. Hi Lee, hi Liam. Hi, beautiful Sandra. Great to see you. Lots of love to see you. Nice to see you. And so yeah, and so the baby Garfield is super, super cute. But what happens? It looks like it's in this crate, and the dad says, I'm gonna be back for you. And it doesn't happen. And so baby Garfield's left on their own. So they go to the restaurant and they're really, really hungry. And they end up tapping on the window. And that's how they meet their future owner. So they tap on the window and see that he's eating pizza. And they're like basically really, really hungry for pizza. And if I remember right, Garfield's person is called John, I think. I'm trying to remember what the name of Garfield's person is. Anyway, my dad's called John, so I'm not sure I've got that right. But anyway, it's a really, really good movie. So what happens is baby Garfield finds the person who becomes his future dad, and it happens there and then because he's basically eating in the restaurant. Garfield's at the window going like this, saying he's hungry. So Garfield comes in the restaurant and causes absolute, utter chaos in the restaurant and goes around eating everything. And then he has to, the guy who becomes his new dad, which is I'm just looking it up quickly on Wikipedia. Yes, I got that right. John, his human owner, John. So I thought it was a bit weird because my dad's called John, but it's spelled a different way. That's probably why I didn't recognize it. And so, so John is following Garfield all around the restaurant, trying not to let anyone see him because John believes that he'll be got rid of as a pest. So anyway, John has ordered lots of food for Garfield, really, they go out and they get takeaway. They go out, and after Garfield's been eating behind people's backs when they've been celebrating the birthday parties of other people, John takes Garfield out and outside and says, like, "Here's like a lasagna for you, and I guess you've got home to go to, so I'll be saying goodbye now," and goes to walk off. And it's such a sad part of the film, like, Garfield's in tears, and they're all streaming down his face, and the next thing you know, he's going down this stream in the road. I thought there's surely not enough tears to cause that stream, so I was a bit confused by it, like, is it actually a stream where it's been raining, or is it meant to all be from his eyes? And anyway, he's kind of going off with the lasagna, and then John, he's, like, crying, and then John's like, "Oh, you haven't got home to go to, have you? Like, come back with me." So that's how Garfield ends up being with John, and John gets a dog, which then becomes Garfield's, like, servant. And, obviously, the dog takes very good care of John, and particularly Garfield. Is really the dog's really there for Garfield, but I'm glad they got on really well. Um Odie is the name of the dog. So Odie ends up being like a servant to like Garfield and gets him all the food and the drinks and everything. And John's doing these pictures, like architecture pictures, and everything's meant to be happy. So it sets the scene for like Garfield's found his place in life. Odie's like his servant, and everyone's having a good time. Lee, that's as it should be. Cats are naturally in charge. Oh, don't let dog hit people hear you say cats are naturally in charge. I used to have dogs when I was growing up. Actually, one of my neighbour's cats, well, she was the person, I say neighbour, they weren't my next door neighbour, they were one after that. One of her cats used to come and see me and spend time with me, actually. She used to like me, called Mimi. But I've grown up with dogs, and my best friend as a kid was a dog that I had called Purdy, who I still miss to this day. I love her. So she was a Cocker Spaniel. And I would definitely say my cat, Mr. Muffles, has gone missing. Oh my God. That's horrible, Lee. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I don't know that cats are naturally in charge. I don't know that I actually agree with that, because dogs can be quite boisterous. And my dog, Purdy, she was known as the runt of the litter. So she was actually, unfortunately, they cut her tail too short. My parents didn't show her, but she was born as a show dog, and they cut her tail and made it shorter than it should be. So she had a lot of problems because it was like near to the bone, and she was very boisterous because I think of she's known as the runt of the litter, shorter for her breed, and also that, and she got a bit angry quite a lot of the time with other dogs, not really with me. So yeah, I think a cat wouldn't have stood any chance against my dog, to be honest, even because the other dogs didn't around her either. So I wouldn't necessarily agree that a cat's in charge at all. I think it depends on the dynamic between the cat and the dog. But I've always kind of thought cats are independent and go off their own, whereas dogs rule the house. That's kind of what I thought, because most cats I've come across, most, not all, are outside usually. But my ex housemate used to have two indoor cats, and they didn't go out because they had some problem when they were babies. They got them from a shelter, so they were a bit older, and they had some problem when they were babies, so they had to stay indoors after that. So yeah, um, but I would say from my experience that dogs are usually indoors most of the time. So I'd say usually they rule the inner space of the house, and cats come and go as they please, which means they can't really be in charge because they're not there to be in charge, if you know what I mean. So that's my personal opinion and experience, obviously. I know you don't think the same. I'm really sorry about your cat, though. Cats don't have owners, they have employees. That's interesting. I could argue that about any pet though. Like, when Angel was alive, my guinea pig, she literally was like a queen. Like, you had to go and, she ruled the home. She was an indoor guinea pig and she completely ruled the home. Like, she would squeak, like ended up living with my parents because she had diabetes and I couldn't inject her. But to cut a long story short, every time they would go at certain lunch times when my parents were having lunch, that was it. She would squeak at the top of her voice and they had to give her food because she needed it. And guinea pigs take a lot of looking after, actually. People don't realize they eat so much. And a lot of my shopping will end up being my parents' shopping bill. It was taken up with food, fresh vegetables for my guinea pig. And she really ruled. It was more like I was, I was like the love of her life, but also was more like a servant to my guinea pig a bit as well. Like, yes, queen, get you what you want. Yes, your majesty, you know what I mean? So I could say that a lot of pets like that, particularly my guinea pig, Angel, who's no longer with me, sadly. She's very like that. She was female, but male traits. Very like, she ruled the home. So I definitely think it depends what pet it is and what dynamic you have with the pet and with their characteristics and personality, just like humans, really. But anyway, getting back to the Garfield movie, yeah, so John takes Garfield in, and Garfield's living this really amazing life and thinking he's got it made. And then all of a sudden, these two strange looking creatures, one's like a deformed dog, a rabid dog, and I wasn't really sure what the other thing was. I think it's meant to be a really big, massive dog crossed with something else. They're meant to look really scary. So they kidnap Garfield and Odie and take them and end up putting them in this warehouse and hanging them up by the leg. And so they're like they're there in the air, trapped. They can't get down because they've been hoisted up and they've just got this rope around them. And if they undo the rope, the theory is they'll plummet to their death because there's nothing underneath to save them apart from this concrete stuff or whatever. So anyway, in comes Garfield's real dad in the movie. I actually wasn't expecting this because when I saw the trailer, I thought for some reason there was two Garfields. There was like the younger version Garfield had grown into the adult version Garfield. I didn't realize the other Garfield was his actual dad in the movie. So this did surprise me. I just thought it was like I said, I just thought it was Garfield plus an older version of him. So I thought it was going to be something like I don't know, like a time warp type of movie or some sort of time thing moving where you got the younger version Garfield and then the older version Garfield. That's what I thought the story is going to be about based on the trailer. I didn't realize it was actually Garfield's dad. I thought it was an older version of Garfield. So Garfield's dad enters and saves Garfield and Odie, and then you find out that there's this female cat, and Garfield's father had literally years ago been with her and some thugs, basically, and they had tried to steal milk from Lacto's farm, and she, who was Garfield's dad's girlfriend at the time, as far as I can understand, she ended up getting captured and ended up being sent like to the pound or whatever, like feline jail, and the rest got away. And so she's resented Garfield's dad ever since, and therefore that's why she captured Garfield and Odie. And so what happens is these two rabid sort of looking dogs, one's a massive, really butch thing that looks like a giant. They literally will not let Garfield's dad, Garfield and Odie go unless they promise to get a load of milk back for all the 5 years, a pint basically for every, I think it's a pint for every day of the 5 years that she was like in feline jail, because she said that she was captured, the others weren't, and Garfield's dad basically betrayed her, type thing. So anyway, they Garfield and Odie don't really want to go, but Garfield's dad is in with these thugs, and that's what his debt he has to pay back. Otherwise, they're going to set these two like rabid dog creatures on them, the ones who captured them in the first place. And one of them is like a really towering giant. So to cut a long story short, moving forward in the movie, they end up going, like, Garfield's dad and Garfield end up arguing loads about the past, about the Garfield's like, you abandoned me, the dad's saying I didn't abandon you, Garfield's saying you did. And there's some really, really funny scenes where they're having to jump on this moving train, and Garfield's dad is basically saying you're learning loads of new skills, and Garfield's like going, I don't want to learn these skills. And there's just a lot of funny scenes. I won't go into every scene, but a lot of funny scenes. And don't forget, I'm spoiling the movie, so if you don't like spoilers, please do not watch the rest of this. And so it's really funny. I found the film very hilarious. Now, I thought this was going to be kind of like the main part of the film, and then they introduce a whole new character partway through the movie, which was really exciting. I loved it because I thought this is very good. They're introducing different characters at different stages of the movie. It's making it a lot more interesting, a lot more action packed. And you don't kind of expect another storyline to be added. So when they introduce this new character, which is like, I can't work out, I think he's a moose, but I couldn't quite work it out. I think he's a moose anyway. Or is he a bull? Because basically he's in love with this cow. So they go to Lactose Farm to try and steal the milk. And they end up coming across this creature. Oh yeah, I think he's a bull because he's got a ring for his nose, yeah, and horns. So he must be a bull. And the bull's in love with the cow. And Lactose Farm, you found out that years ago it wasn't doing very well financially, so we're going to shut it down. And in order to save it, I think new people took over, and the cow and the bull were like mascots for the whole farm. And it was like they're together, and it was like, when they do like weird kind of adverts and stuff. Anyway, the bull got separated from the cow by this security person. And so the bull had to go away and was carted off, like going to it was carted off out of the farm. And the cow was left there to be like played with, like kids were jumping all over her, and she was just like a party piece basically. And the bull couldn't get back in there because it's like a fortress to try and get back in there with security. And so the bull was like really miserable because this is the love of his life. So there is some romance in this. So if you're a romance repulsed asexual, you might not like the fact that this storyline came into it. I think you'd like the rest of the movie, but you might find it's a little bit too romantic. But there is no sex in this movie, which is really, really good. No nakedness. So it's an animation, obviously, but you can get some animations these days that have sexual connotations in them. And so what happens is Garfield's dad, Odie, and the bull have to try to get into the farm. So the bull agrees to help Garfield, his dad, and Odie, providing they help the cow, the love of his life, get out of there. That's the deal. And Garfield and his dad are in some scenes where they're tied up. Odie and the bull are like laughing because Garfield and his dad are tied up together with like these vines off the trees, like the tree vines, and they're arguing all the time. And then excuse me, you find out what really happened all those years ago when Garfield thought he was left alone. I need to get some water. So the dad said, I never left you. And the Garfield's going, you did. And then they show what actually happened, or you think actually happened. And Garfield's dad went to get Garfield, who was a little baby, some fish out of the bin because they were on the streets. So you see Garfield's dad Right, it's like this guy comes out the back and puts stuff in the bin. Like, it seems like he's got a restaurant or some place to eat cafe or something. I think it's a restaurant. He puts like the leftovers or whatever in the bin, and Garfield's dad rummages all through the bin to get Garfield this one little fish for Garfield to eat. And this is really sad. It makes you cry, this bit in the movie. So you get really upset in the beginning when you see Garfield as a baby. Then you get really upset again when you see his dad actually was trying to help Garfield. But what happened is the restaurant owner spent so long on the phone, it sounds like he was chatting a girl up or something. And he kept coming out that the dad took so long to get the food out of the actual bin that Garfield was like in this crate, and he wasn't looking where his dad was going, so he just thought his dad had disappeared and left him. And his dad hadn't. All along he was trying to get baby Garfield some food. And so what the father says happened is he saw Garfield in the restaurant with John, although he didn't know it was John at the time, and saw that he got, that he was really happy with John. He was being fed in the restaurant by John. And you find out that he found out where Garfield lives with John. And he spent like 5 years of Garfield's life going up this tree, looking at Garfield and putting notches like on the tree for every time he visited Garfield. But Garfield didn't know he was there. Garfield's dad would look through the window, climb up this tree and look through the windows at what Garfield was doing, and seeing that Garfield lived a wonderful life with John and was having all the food he wanted, and it was like a dream life that the father couldn't give Garfield, but he still wanted to make sure Garfield was okay. So he was looking out for him all these years. So you get really, really upset and emotional in the movie. I got really upset at this bit. And you're like, oh my God, the dad does care. The only thing that didn't quite add up, I think, for me is when they originally had Garfield's dad disappear, it looked like Garfield's dad disappeared from the left of Garfield when you see that he disappeared to the right of Garfield. But I could be wrong about that. It just seemed to me like he disappeared from the left-hand side, whereas actually he went right to try and get food for Garfield. And it seemed like he was mixed up with some bad people then, like thuggy people then, whereas when you see him in the part where he gets the fish, he hasn't got anyone with him. He's actually just trying to help Garfield. So anyway, Garfield believes this new story and thinks, his dad's good and everything. So things get better between them. And then with the bull, there's some hilarious stuff when the bull starts saying how they're going to tackle this lactose farm like a fortress, and gives them all like character names, like kind of like Odie's like a intelligence, is he intelligent squirrel or something? And he gives names to things, and he uses like a grasshopper to show part of the plan and something else. So it's just some really funny moments. I won't tell you all the funny moments because they're really funny and you kind of enjoy them in the moment, if you know what I mean. And so anyway, they eventually break into this farm, but security has been alerted, and this security person is a woman, but a woman that looks like a guy basically, and is really butch. And that was the one who took the bull away from the cow and broke them up. And so Garfield, there's quite a lot to to getting into Lactose Farm. Like Garfield's dad and Odie, they're all they go into the farm, they enter it, and they're trying to creep around the place. There's some really funny scenes where Garfield ends up in a cheese factory with Odie and his dad, and the cheese is being made and it's like being cut, and Garfield's like doesn't realize that he's in the cheese cutter, and then Odie's trying to save Garfield, and then the dad ends up basically saving them both. But later on, they get caught by security because it didn't go according to plan. They weren't supposed to go amongst the cheeses and nearly get killed. And so the bull's like, you have to time everything, and if you do one thing different, it won't work. And so what happens is the dad ends up saying sorry to Garfield again and leaves Garfield and Odie and takes this does this kind of trick where the security person drops their keys and he leaves Odie and Garfield behind and goes on this like futuristic looking train, and Garfield can't believe that his dad's left him again. But what happens is Odie and Garfield end up back in the pound, and then John collects them. There's some funny scenes with John, which I haven't gone into, where John is literally trying to find out what's happened to Garfield because Garfield disappeared with Odie, and Garfield's human dad, John, didn't know what had happened to them both. And John's on the phone all the time, and it's like, oh, you're caller 134 or something like that in the queue. And it's like, do you want to report this, that, and the other? And it's just leading down a wild goose chase. So as the movie progresses, you see John getting more and more unhappy, ends up getting stubble, and is so angry by the end of the movie. Like, and the woman's like, when he comes to collect Garfield from the pound, he gets Odie, and then Garfield's in the the pound, the little cage thing, and the person who's in charge of the pound going, "Are you sure about the cat? Because it didn't have a collar, but all of a sudden it has a collar." So that was a bit of a weird thing in the film because Garfield has a collar originally, then the collar disappears for most of the film, then the collar comes back. And I don't know if John was supposed to have slipped another collar on him actually in at the end of the movie or what. It was very bizarre. He goes, "Oh, I've got a collar." Like, where did that come from type thing. Anyway, the person said, "Were you sure it's got no collar on it?" Then all of a sudden Garfield's got a G collar on him again. And then John's like, "Ah, like I am not the person I was when this first happened, and I do not care. Like, basically, open the door. It's my cat, I am not that person. I'm not gonna sit there going basically, like John's gone from being mild and meek to being really angry guy and just wants his cat back. So Odie and Garfield go back home. I am going to spoil the end of the film just to let you know. Garfield and Odie go back to John's, but before that happens, when they were in the pound, I told you they were in the pound because John's just collected Garfield and Odie, right? In the pound, they met all these other animals, and Garfield found out that these animals had been hard done by Garfield's dad. And they all said Garfield's dad is so unreliable. And Garfield said, "Oh yeah, he told me a bunch of lies." Basically, he said that he came to the house. No, he said that he would never leave me. He left me before, and he said he wouldn't leave me. He's left me again because obviously I said they grabbed the keys from security. Garfield's dad grabbed the keys from security and went off in this futuristic train-looking thing. That's how they ended up in the pound, Garfield and Odie. So in the pound, they met all these. When they were in their cages, they met these, like, you hear all these different animals who actually knew Garfield's dad and said, "You can't rely on him, you can't trust him." And then Garfield doesn't believe the story his dad told him anymore about the fact he was getting this fish. He thinks it's all complete lies. But the animals were saying, yeah, every Sunday he used to, Garfield's dad, they didn't know it was Garfield's dad at the time. They said he used to just disappear. And he told us that he was looking out for his son. He would go up these oak tree, and we were so fed up with this lie. And, and every time we just disappear. So he was unreliable. We could never rely on him because he would always disappear and say he was up this old oak tree and he could see that you were having, well, they didn't say you because they didn't know it was Garfield, but they were just talking to Garfield without him actually knowing, without them actually realizing it was his dad and him they were talking about in that context. They didn't realize that Garfield's dad was actually doing that. They thought he was lying. And Garfield therefore thought he was lying because they're like, "Oh, he came and he was like seeing Garfield, seeing his son eating," because they didn't say his name was Garfield. They just said he used to say that he was seeing his son and that he was going and looking, and he was having his like food, Sunday roast, I'm assuming. And so anyway, Garfield doesn't believe us. Garfield gets out of the pound, and then when he goes back to John, the penny drops that him and Odie were meant to be captured. The dad wanted Odie and Garfield to be captured, so they would end up going back to John because they knew John would get them from the pound. So he actually did do that in Garfield's best interest. And Garfield goes up the tree, this, I think it's an oak tree opposite, and he's trying to look for these notches because in the pound they said, they said about Garfield's dad that he used to disappear and he used to apparently be this oak tree and he'd done these notches every time he visited his son. And he's been doing this for 5 years, unbeknown to Garfield. And Garfield starts climbing the tree thinking it's a load of rubbish. And then he looks up and he sees all these branches with all these notches. And this is a very emotional part of the movie. And he realizes dad was telling the truth. And then him and Odie have to go and save his dad because if you remember at the beginning of the film, there was these two really like rabid, weird looking dogs, I said, and there was this female cat who basically was after the milk being paid back to her for like a revenge type thing because the dad was having a relationship with this female cat, this white cat, and the female cat got put into like feline jail, and Garfield's dad and the rest of the thug group got off scot-free, and she was jailed basically for 5 years. So she wasted 5 years of her life, and she said, in order to pay me back for the fact that I was in there and all the years I missed of my life, you owe me like a pint of milk for every day I was in there. I think it's a pint or something like that. They owe me X amount of milk. So Garfield's dad took the milk to her when he escaped on the train, that futuristic train. But what happens is the female cat said it was never about the milk. It was because you betrayed me and I want revenge. So she turns into this really like savage female dog that's out to kill Garfield's dad. And Garfield and Odie suddenly realize that they've got to save his dad because his dad was telling the truth because he did do the notches up the tree. Therefore, he was trying to feed them. Therefore, he was looking out for his son for all these years. And so then there's another part of the movie where then Garfield and Odie are trying to save the cat, Garfield's dad. Garfield's dad's like a bigger version of him, really. And so yeah, so that's like it's such an interesting movie because it's so action packed. There's like so many different storylines like interweaving into one, and you keep meeting different characters, but there's a twist at the end, and I don't know if I should tell you. There is some twist at the end, and I think maybe I should leave it there and not tell you the twist at the end to give you a bit more suspense to watch it. Because I was like, oh yeah, I think it's probably logical what happens, but I didn't really think about it. I didn't really see it coming. Keep it a secret, yeah. So I really enjoyed the movie. I'll give it at least an 8 out of 10 if I was grading it, probably maybe even more than that. I would go and see it again. I thought it was really, really funny. I say I'd go and see it again. I'm not sure if I actually literally would go and see it again, but I definitely watch it again. I found it really funny, really hilarious, but there was some really tearful moments in there. I loved the action. I thought the storylines were so packed together. You know what I mean? It's like they keep introducing new characters, and you think, well, this is just going to be straightforward. This is what I'm seeing now. And then they, when they introduce the bull and the whole subplot where the bull has been separated from the love of his life, the cow, that was very interesting to me because I'm thinking, hang on a minute, we're like possibly, I don't know, like 3/4 of an hour into the film or something, and you're introducing another character plus a kind of subplot. And and you don't even find Garfield's dad so you find Garfield first, and then they're kidnapped, Garfield and Odie, like I said, and then the dad gets introduced, Garfield's dad, and then there's a whole how the feline, the female cat with the two rabid dogs a link to Garfield's dad, and you find out about Garfield's past. And then Garfield has to basically commit a crime with Odie, with the dad, to get the milk to steal for the female cat. I won't tell you what happens with that, but like I said, she gets the milk, but she said it wasn't about that. And then she turns into a savage cat who really wants to kill Garfield's dad. And there's some scenes with that in it. And so, yeah, and oh, yes, I have to tell you about this. When Garfield tries to rescue his dad, there's a lot of drones involved. Very clever scenes, very clever. The way Garfield uses the drones and food to try and free his dad. I don't want to go into everything, but I love that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole of the movie. I couldn't believe it. So there's a joke in the movie where Garfield keeps going to apps and ordering loads of food and just racking up John's bill, basically, unbeknown to John. And yeah, and so part of the plot, which I didn't know, I didn't see it coming, and I won't tell you exactly what happens with it, but Garfield orders a ton of food, which comes on drones, which he uses in a very ingenious way to try and get his dad free off a moving train. It's very, very cool, that scene. I loved it. I thought it must have taken so much coordination to do that when they must have filmed, when they must use special, obviously, equipment to film stuff like special 3D computers and everything. But the way it was done is incredible. So I'd highly recommend going to see it. I loved the movie. I think it's really action packed. Get on the edge of your seat. Very tearful moments as well, touching moments. And I really like the endings as well. But I think there'll be another one. If you watch the credits. I think there'll be another one. Like at the very, very end, Garfield's saying, like, why are you still here? Oh yeah, because you're waiting for the sequel. Working for the next movie, basically. So yeah, yes, I think it's very interesting. I don't want to tell you the end because I think it'll spoil it. So I've given a lot of spoilers as it is. But basically watch the movie. It's really, really good. I only paid £2.75 on Kids Club. People don't realise that you can go and watch movies that have been full price for cheaper at Kids Club. Sometimes they literally put a movie on at Kids Club and then it goes back to full price again. Full price is either £5 at Odeon in the UK or £7.99 at View if you get the tickets beforehand. Otherwise, you're paying £8.99 or more at View, and I think £7.99 or more at the Odeon. I don't really know the full price of Odeon because I always book it online. Because if you become a member of the Odeon online, you can have all the movies pretty much for £5 each, or you can join their monthly plan. But I don't because some Kids Club movies go to watch at View Cinema. I like to be able to chop and change it a bit. But I don't usually hardly ever pay full price for movies at View because I think it's very expensive, like £7.99, £8.99, £9.99. I just think it's too much. So I'd rather watch like kids movies. But Garfield has just like been full price, like £5 or more at View. And I'm paying like £2.75 for it. So you know what I mean? I was looking forward to it. I was quite excited, but not as excited as I was actually when I saw it. I'm like, this is a really good movie. I really loved it. It's got a lot of interesting characters. It's full of action, very, very funny moments. Like I said, it's got some really funny moments at the end as well. I really, really do like the ending a lot. I thought it's very good. And yeah, I think there probably will be another one. I think. And I think, because they've kind of left it open at the end. That's all I'm saying. In one way. So yeah, I'm not gonna say anymore, but it's really, really good. Go check it out, Garfield, the Garfield movie. It's called. It's really, really good. I loved it. They got some quite big actors playing some of the parts as well. Like one of the characters, Samuel L. Jackson plays one of the characters. Chris Pratt plays another of the characters. So that was very interesting. The voices, basically. So yeah, give it a watch. I really, really, really loved it. I did because I'm a romantic asexual, as you know, hyper romantic. Actually, I did actually like the love between the bull and the cow. It was very much the bull is like needing to be with his love of his life, the cow. He's very dedicated. He was actually really miserable without her. And it's like he can't be without her. And I think it's so cute. I thought it was really sweet. He keeps trying to get to her and he can't for quite some time in the movie. But it's really sweet. There's a sweet moment there as well. It's really nice. I like the romance between them. Dedication. Lee River. I've been invited to the cinema for next week. I don't know what film, but maybe this is the one. Ali, I probably would say I would say if they pick the movie, if they're picking the movie, they're probably not gonna pick Garfield, not unless they're a Garfield fan, because this has gone into kids club now. So I'm not sure that it's still full price. And lots of people don't realise they can see kids' movies for kids' prices. You have to go to like kids club early in the morning, like 10. It was 10 o'clock this morning I went, so it's like 10, quarter past 10 or half 10 usually 10 or half 10, and it's really early in the morning. It's like kids club, so usually adults can go there with the kids, but you don't have to have a kid to pay kids prices. Kid Adults pay the kids prices, but most people don't know that they can do this. They don't understand. People don't realize. So you can have a movie that's on like the screen that's full price, like 7.99 or whatever, and then the next week you could get it for £2.50 or £2.75. Then they put it back up again because they say it's kids club, but anyone can go. You don't have to have a kid. I don't have any children, thank God. I personally don't want kids, and I am like a kid. It's much better. So I would say if you're going with someone, they probably would not pick the movie, and they probably will never, most people go to kids club and watch kids movies without being a parent. But it's something I do regularly. In fact, I was the only one in the whole of the cinema screen. There was no other people there, so it's just me. There was no kids, there was no other people, there was no parents, it was just literally me. So I got the whole place to myself. But it's a really good thing to be able to do, because most people don't know, and most people will say, "Oh, it's so expensive to go to the cinema," but actually you can go to see lots of kids movies for very minimal cost. And often they will repeat some movies as well at minimal cost. Like I saw I've seen so many I do pay full price for some films as well. I saw Twisters the other day, which I haven't reviewed yet. Um, Lee River. Ah, I see. She's got a Meerkat Cineworld pass, whatever that is. Oh, Meerkat. I'm not too clued up, but Meerkat has an offer on, like Meerkat Insurance. It has an offer on 2 for 1, I think. I think. So I think you get 2 tickets for the price of one, I think. But I can look up Meerkat Cineworld Pass, but you're gonna hear me type on computer Cineworld Pass. So you're gonna hear me type. You don't usually do that. So what is Meerkat Movies and how do I get discounted tickets? Meerkat Movies offers 2 for 1 cinema tickets. See, I know my stuff. Every Tuesday or Wednesday for a whole year to comparethemarket.com customers. Yep, I got it right. To qualify, all anyone has to do is buy any qualifying product via Compare the Market's price comparison website. Yeah. So yes. So basically, if I don't know if they're paying for the ticket, well, she's paying for the ticket and she's giving you the free one, or if she's expecting to split one in half, and pay half each for one ticket and the other is free. I don't know how they're going to do it. But if she's invited you as a guest, I'm guessing it's probably like, you're going to go for free, unless she said otherwise. But sometimes if I've got a special offer on, like, we'll swap it around. Like, one person will pay, the other person goes free, and then we'll swap around who pays next time, and the other person goes free. So not with the, I'm not talking about the cinema, I'm talking about other things. So usually I always go to the cinema on my own predominantly, and I don't have an offer for the cinema like that. So yeah, but I do love the cinema. It's one of my favorite things to do, and plus because I've got back injuries at the moment, it's a activity I can actually do because it requires sitting down and enjoying myself, which is always a good thing. So I love going to the aquarium with my best friend to Plymouth this week, but I did a lot of walking there and back and obviously around the aquarium, and by the end of the day, I was really sore and I was in a lot more pain with my back, but I'm so glad I went. For my mental health, it was really good. It's just like it's good to, like, do things in my home as well, because going up the cinema and sitting down is a good thing to do. It's very magical for me, and it helps me with my mental health. It helps cinema helps me to feel magical. It gives me the Disney magic feeling when I go to the cinema. I love the whole experience of cinema screen, because some people are like, well, why don't you just watch these things at home? Well, I don't actually have Netflix. I currently have Disney Plus, but only for a limited time. I think it ends next month, because I got it free when I went to Disneyland Paris this year. I got it free last year when I went to Disney Paris last year, but I think it's only valid till September, so it'll probably run out soon. So unless I renew it, I won't have that Disney Plus. And then I haven't got Netflix, and I don't watch TV. I don't have a TV license, so unless I watch Blu-rays or DVDs by disc, and unless I get a subscription or one of those two services in the future, then I can't watch the films, all the films at home. And I like the whole cinema experience. I want to keep cinemas alive. If everyone just watches stuff online, there'll be no real in-person cinemas. And I still like in-person cinemas. I want to pay to go to the cinema, even though I pay low prices, because I want the staff to still have jobs. I love the whole cinema thing. And if all I was doing watching at home, we would, like, it would shut down the cinemas, and I want the cinemas to still be there. I think it's very important to physically switch off. I switch my phone off whenever I go to the cinema. I usually do a shorts video to say I'm on a self date again. Oh, I'm going to be watching another movie this week as well. Another self date, early self date, I might add, this week coming up. Tuesday. I don't know what I'm going to see. Excited for that. So, yeah, cinema really relaxes me. It gives me the magic Disney experience, and I love it. I love the big screen. I love switching my phone off. As they say in the cinema, switch your phones off and turn off from the outside world. And I love doing that. Although I do love social media. I love being on this channel. I love being on social media. I do actually have times throughout the day when I switch off, because it's very important for my mental health to get stuff done. Otherwise, I don't get anything done. And I just love the feeling of switching off and being totally immersed in a massive big screen, especially as I usually end up having quite a lot of screens to myself, or with very little people there. Lee River, it's a special kind of atmosphere. Yeah, I think it is. Like, I don't just want to stay at home. I'm an extrovert anyway. I need to go out, and it's a really good thing for me to do, to go out. I feel so good when I've been to the cinema. I feel elated. I feel excited. Obviously, it depends what type of film you watch. You've got to watch what you put into your mind. If you start watching psychopathic things, then it's not going to be good, especially late at night. So you got to be mindful of what you're watching. Like, I did watch a movie the other day, which I haven't reviewed, I don't think. Or did I review it? Oh, I think I did, actually. Bad Boys. I think I remember reviewing it. Yeah. And I don't usually watch that, but it was late at night that I watched it. And it wasn't the best film to watch late at night. I don't usually, it was a bit violent for me. And I don't usually watch that, especially not late at night. And, like when I was going home from the cinema on my own, it's starting to freak me out a bit. So that's why usually most of the time I watch good-minded films. Although even in the animation Garfield, like I said, there was some really sad moments in it. Lee, I'm an introvert, but it's nice. And oh, so yeah, I do like the yeah, most asexual people are introverts, and I'm not an extrovert. I find it very difficult, actually, because most people I know are introverted. There's nothing wrong with being introverted. Personally, I used to be introverted years ago, and I didn't like it for me. That's when I was 10, I changed myself to start being more extrovert, because I didn't like being introverted. But there's nothing actually wrong with being an introvert. But I find it difficult as an adult in the asexual community as well, because most people are introvert. But even outside the asexual community, people that I come across in meetup.com groups, for example, the predominance is usually introverts, which is fine. But when I'm an extrovert, it's kind of like I'm kind of like not. I understand introverts, because obviously my best friend's an introvert. Most people I know are introverts, but I'm not an introvert. And so it makes it difficult when I got no extrovert friends. I could do with some extrovert friends. Do you know what I mean? because otherwise I've got no one to relate to very much in that way, because nearly everyone I know is introverted. And you know what it's like before you find out you're asexual and there's loads of people like you know, it's a bit like you're on your own, a bit like an alien. And so for the fact that I haven't got any people I hang around with that are extroverts all the time, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard for me because it's like, where's my extroverted people, you know? Liam, I'm an introvert. Yes, Liam. The majority of people are introverted in the whole of the asexual community. There's not many extroverts, but most people I come across, even in, I used to think years ago the world was full of extroverts, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Like, I found out that most people who are business people, entrepreneurs, are actually introverted, not extroverted, but they learn the skills of how to do business in a way that seems extroverted, but they're actually introverts. So they'll do the business side of stuff, then they'll have like a private life. You might notice that I love being public. I share my own asexual life journey on this channel in order to help others. I want to show people what an asexual life is like on a daily basis, the things I do, you know, because some people are like, oh, what do asexuals do with their life? It must be so boring. I'm like, well, no, I'm not bored at all. I'm going to the cinema loads. I'm like in aquariums. When before my injuries, I was hanging upside down on roller coasters, which was good fun. And so there's lots of things that I do with my asexual life. And obviously I do late night education chat shows, as you know. I'm doing a no sex movie review tonight, so it's very varied now what I do on this channel, but I think that's important to show the variety of asexual life, and I like to show asexual life in real life context, not just textbook definitions of it, so you can see the challenges I go through, the good things I go through, the joys I go through, the difficulties I go through, so it can help inspire you in your own life. And it is hard for me because, like, pretty much most people I know are introverted. And if you're an extrovert and you haven't got anyone like you, it's harder, isn't it? Because introverts, by and large, get energy drained by being around people too much. They like to spend more time on their own. And they energy levels get depleted usually the more they around people, talk to people and stuff like this. Lee River, I can understand that only too well. Dealing with non-ASD folk all of my life has been somewhat like that too. Oh, bless you. Yeah, I mean, I yeah, I I'm glad that you can relate in some way to what I'm saying, because it is hard when I haven't got anyone like me that's introverted around me. Because as an sorry, did I say anyone like me as an extrovert around me? I hope I did, but I'm not sure if I swapped it to introvert. Most people around me are introverts, but I'm an extrovert, and it's hard not having anyone who's extrovert around me, because as an extrovert, I get energy from being around people. I'm complete opposite. If I don't go out for some time, I get drained of energy. It's like my battery life depletes, so I'm the opposite. So introverts' battery, if you like, of energy gets depleted by being around people, and they need to go and be by themselves to recharge, recuperate, reinvigorate, if you like, and build up their energy life battery again. Whereas as an extrovert, I have to go out to get my energy from other people and being around other people, just in their company, even if I don't speak to anyone. Because if I stay indoors too long, a number of days, I get drained of energy. The space, the non-action taking, the too much peace and quiet. It's just like, I like good peace, and I like some good peace. I don't, you know, what am I trying to say? I like some good noise, I should say, really, because you know, and peace when it's appropriate, but because I don't like people, like, sometimes where I live, there's a lot of shouting and swearing in the streets because I live next to a road. And so that's not always good. So that's noise I don't like. I like music and lots of that. I'm probably one of the noisiest people in the whole of my house these days, actually. You know, you would think I was just like a student at the uni, which I'm opposite, uni accommodation, right? Um, that as an extrovert, I get energized by being around people. I'm a bit like Iron Man. You know, Iron Man, if you've watched the Iron Man movies, he needs to plug himself in to boot himself back up, to bring himself back to life and have more energy. His suit, this is, right? And this is like I am being around people. When I go around people, it's like, putting putting my plug in the switch and switching me on and bringing me more to life. But when I say I spend 3 days or more indoors, that actually gets very energy draining for me, because it's like I'm not seeing anyone, I'm not talking to anyone, I'm not getting energized, because the world is so very introverted, and most people I come across are introverted. People always rave about peace and quiet being the end goal of life, if you know what I mean. And as you're maturing, peace and quiet is what you want. But actually, I like noise. I like being around people. I like, even when I'm sat in the pub, even if I'm not talking to anyone, I'm eating or by myself or whatever, or even if with my best friend sometimes, I'm like, if you be quiet yourself, and then you can listen to like the hum of all the noise of everyone chatting to everyone, people laughing, joking, or whatever. And that noise is very beautiful to me. I like the noise of people. And, when you're on your own in a sea full of introverts, it's very difficult, because it's like, I want to be with people where we go out for the day and I have someone who's not drained of energy, and someone who's could go and like just maybe sit at night with me sometimes, and like be out until the early hours of the morning to the moonlit sky or something, you know what I mean, to 1 a.m. with me or something like that. But you know what I mean? Like, introverts, they need to go home, they need to recuperate, they need to relax and unwind, they need to like spend time on their own. Whereas if I was with an extrovert like me, we could like stay out and go out till the early hours of the morning maybe, and just like sit there and have fun at night, you know what I mean? Like hang out and stuff like that. But I can't do that with any introverted people usually, because it's not in their remit. It's not really viable for them in terms of their energy levels. It's like they would get tired with that. They would get energy drained with that if it's like a whole day and then the night as well. Whereas, like, I do remember years ago, like, I did have an ex-boyfriend who ended up being my friend. And he used to come, I think he's extroverted, and he used to come to my parents. When I say he's my ex, we were only together for one night. I used to know his mum. This is a very short story version. I actually met him through one of my other ex-boyfriends, but I ended up working for his mother, and then I went to an engagement party with him there, and he asked me out to be his girlfriend there. Then I met up with him, and then when he kissed me, I realized I wasn't supposed to be with him, because kissing him was like kissing a lizard, and it wasn't good. And he invited me away for a weekend, which I knew would mean sex, and I didn't want that, so I said no. And I was really uncomfortable with that, and I didn't know I was asexual then. So, but I told him on the phone the next day, we're not suitable, and so we're only like together like that day. And the next day, I told him we're not suitable, and yeah. But he said, oh, if you want anyone who loves you, then give me a ring. And then that was it. And so it ended up abruptly. But then he did actually phone back and said he still wants to be friends. And so I was friends with him for quite a long time. And he used to bring his car to my mum and dad's and take me out. And we used to go and sit on Timoth Pier, like late. Like he would park his car and we used to sit on the deck chairs there at night and just watch the like moon on the water or whatever. So yeah, it used to be really good fun. So as an extrovert, I miss that type of stuff. Lee River. When I'm with just one person, I enjoy spending all day and night with them, and I like to be in a pub or cafe with them, but interacting with large groups is torture. Oh, that's really interesting. So yeah, I know we've kind of like diversified from Garfield now, just for the viewers who have just tuned in. So I have actually gone through the Garfield review, and we're now diversifying to other subjects, just so you know. So if you've missed the Garfield review, please go and watch this video from the beginning if you've just come partway through. So yeah, that's very interesting. I used to have really bad social anxiety for years of my life, until I started doing asexual meetups actually in 2015. That's when everything changed for me, in-person meetups. Although I haven't done any group in-person meetups for the last like last year or this year. And I used to always prefer one-to-one, like being in a group one-to-one, but um that used to be really the best time. I couldn't be in groups at all, but I've changed over the years to be able to be in groups now. But I still have an overriding preference for being one-to-one with people. If I had a choice between being a group or one-to-one, I would always prefer one-to-one usually, because I always get on better like that. I find it's really nice. And I guess I do miss some elements of actually being in a romantic relationship. Like, it's hard for me because I'm super romantic and I do a lot of stuff and have a lot of stuff on, but I miss, like having a person in my life sometimes in a romantic partner sense where I can spend more time with the person, like where I can go out and spend time, um, go on day trips with them and hang out with them and stuff like that. There are some good things in a couple relationship that I do miss, but so far I've always been happier being single than the people I've been in relationships with. Lee River, I love to go and sit in the cafe when I need to think. Having a few people around me is relaxing as long as they leave me alone. Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I like people talking. Olivia, looking beautiful as always, Sandra. Lots of love to you. Oh, hello, Olivia. That's very nice of you to say so. Thank you. Very nice of you to say so. Like, considering I'm recovering from a back injury, I'm doing good, I guess. Do you have any plans for arranging asexual meetup soon? I would love to go to one. Because of my health at the moment, I'm gonna say no, because I don't know if you know, but I've got back injuries. I got 2 broken bones in my back. And it's healing, but I've still got a lot of pain. I hurt my ribs as well, but at the moment I've got a health I've got a lot of health issues going on with that because I'm trying to get better from that. But also, like, next week, which I don't really want to think about, but I'm really anxiety induced, and because I've got to go for a blood test and I've got a huge phobia of blood and needles. I mean, a really big phobia. Like, I'm going for a blood test this time and I'm gonna have it, but I don't want to have it. And the last 2 blood tests, which were for other things, I refused to have blood tests, which most doctors are like, and paramedic are like shocked that I refuse blood tests. That's how phobic I am. I will not have a blood test, and like, for me personally, unless I believe it's absolutely totally necessary. And I injured my back at a business event on April the 28th. And so this has been quite a while, but I got misdiagnosed 3 times and told by 3 different NHS staff that I have a muscle strain or sprain. And that's why I love going to the cinema, because I'm able to do the cinema as my one entertainment thing quite a lot at the moment. And I'm really, that's a really prominent thing for me. And so I injured my back. I went to the walk-in centre when I got back to Exeter the next day, and from London, because it's a business seminar in London, and they asked us to do this exercise where we twist around at the waist, and that's what brought the pain on. Because I was swinging upside down on roller coasters at Chessington World of Adventures in the UK on Friday, the 26th of April, and then I went to the business seminar the 27th and 28th, and it's the 28th when they asked us to do this twisting around exercise. It was twisting around the waist as far as we can go. So I did it, and then I was in later on when I got back to the hotel, I was in pain there, but I was even more pain when I went back, and it was absolutely horrendous pain. And I knew something was really wrong because I couldn't even basically lay on a bed very easy. It was really hard to get on and off a bed. It was agony. I stayed in the hotel as long as I could. I did actually, in fact, go to the aquarium afterwards because I'd already booked it up. And I'm used to being in pain because I've got fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. So I'm used to dealing with pain, but this was very horrendous pain. And so I then went to the walk-in centre. I got back. They said, "Oh, it's just a muscle strain." I'm like, "How long will it take to get better?" "Oh, anything from 2 weeks to 2 months 2 days to 2 months," they said. I'm like, "Oh, okay. But hopefully you should be feeling better soon." And then within 7 days, before it got to the end of the 7 days, I was already phoning up my doctor's surgery saying, "This isn't right. I'm in so much pain." So they got me in to see a paramedic. At my doctor's surgery, we've got a resident paramedic. And she said the same thing, like, it's a muscle strain. And I said to her, they gave me a leaflet of back exercises on the NHS walking centre, but I'm not happy about that because one of the exercises is exactly the thing I can't do, because when I bend down in the shower, it's like my back's jarring and I'm going all dizzy and it's really bad and I can't bend down properly to shave my legs. And this exercise is going to cause me more problems. It's exactly where the injury is, basically, where I feel the most pain. So I don't think it's suitable. So I want to see the physio. It's me who asked to see a physio. And then the paramedic agreed with me. She got me in to see the physio the next week. Physio misdiagnosed me again with a muscle, like with a back strain or sprain, right? No red flag symptoms at this particular time I saw her on my medical records. I asked to see her again. And I said, "Can I see you again? Because I want to get better. And I believe, like, if I see you, I'll be able to get better." I was hoping. She goes, "Well, we don't, we wouldn't normally, I wouldn't normally see someone else here, because if you want rehabilitation, you'd have to go to Whipton Hospital, sorry for it. Whipton Hospital, yeah, not Wanford, Whipton." And I said, "Well, I don't usually go on buses because of my fibro, and it mean going out on a bus there." So I I said, "But, I was hoping to see you like 2 or 3 more times, because I thought I could see you another couple of weeks' time, then another couple of weeks. So I'd be able to increase my exercises, the hardness of them, because hopefully I'll be getting better." And I told her, so she allowed me to see her a second time. She goes, "It's not usually what's done, it's not normal for practice to do this, but I'll see you another time." But if I hadn't seen her that second time, and then I told her, "I feel like I've been in a car accident." I haven't been in a car accident, but I feel like I'm in such horrendous pain and it's causing me a lot of problems. I'm still dizzy in the shower. I'm really in a lot of pain. It literally, and it feels like when it happened, it felt like for a long time afterwards, it felt like I was having a square peg in a round hole. Very hard. Um, and like the sides were being crushed. And it felt like a dagger was in my back permanently as well. It felt like someone was just stuck a knife in my back and it's going around like that all the time. And my ribs felt like they're being knifed as well. So anyway, she actually did a physical examination on the second time. So I never had a physical examination till the second time the physio saw me. And then she examined me and she touched on these points because I got fibromyalgia. I keep going, "Oh, this is fibromyalgia pain." I know the difference between fibromyalgia pain and other types of pain because I don't take any meds for fibro, so I don't cover up the pain. I know what the pain feels like. I knew this was different. I thought it was a break in my back and ribs. And anyway, the second time she put on my medical records red flag symptoms. She said, even on my medical records, she said, I'll send it to Sandra for like a precaution thing for an x-ray, but I've told her it's most likely a strain or a sprain. And then when the results came back before, because had to make an appointment over to, well, it was 2 weeks later. Was meant to have my results back, but 2 weeks later would be exactly when I went to the hospital. But they needed time after that time to get there to my surgery, so I had to book it for like 3 weeks because my physio only is at the surgery once a week because she's out at Whipton Hospital. And so when I phoned up to see if they had the results before I saw the physio, they said they did. And I said, "Oh, do I need to discuss them with the physio?" And they said yes. So I knew there was something on the results, because otherwise they say, "Oh, it's all clear, it's negative." But if the receptionist is not telling me that on the phone, it means something's on it. So when I saw the physio, I said, "There's something on it, isn't there?" And I told her why I knew that. She goes, "Yeah." I said, "It's a fracture, isn't it? And my back's got, broke. It's fractured, isn't it? It's got a break." And she's like, "Yeah." And I was in shock that I was right, because all along they've told me I'm not right. And I knew pretty much I was right, but it's still a shock. But then when she opened it, I said, "Can I have a look at the X-ray?" And she said, "Oh, my laptop's dying, the battery's going, and it's dull, its power's going." I said, "But I want to see it, and also I want to know if my ribs are broken because I believe I broke my ribs as well." But they don't usually X-ray for ribs because they do these days. So anyway, she opened the X-ray and she said, "Oh, you've got 2 fractures." So it wasn't just 1, it was 2. I've broken T8 and T9 vertebrae, but it's wedge fractures. So it means the back part of the spine's intact, but two of the vertebrae at the front is like this, like a wedge shape. So it's down. So the vertebrae are meant to be like oblong, like this, but the other ones are like this. It's like they're crushed, so they come more round, but they're like smaller. I don't know how to describe it. So instead of being elongated like this, I don't know if you can see this. They're like, they've like got the back one's still intact. I don't know how I can show you there, but it's like a wedge, because it's actually inward. I don't know how to show you, but on the X-ray, they look more like they're like a round thing that's crushed at the edges, if you know what I mean. But they're actually wedge shaped. That's how they were. They're stable wedge fractures. But most people have a back brace. But because I've been over 2 months misdiagnosed, the physio phoned the spinal team at the hospital, and they said because I've done without back brace for 2 months, I probably don't need one. Well, they said I don't need one for now unless the symptoms got worse because I managed 2 months without it. But obviously, a back brace is to help you help you to heal. So I've not had that. And it's basically there's no particular care plan in place. It's just a case of I ask for physio and to continue with physio, and I keep doing the physio exercises. I call it these days help yourself NHS service because pretty much that's it. But the bad news is when I when the physio spoke to the spinal care team at Exeter Hospital to see if they wanted to see me and give me a back brace, and they said no to the back brace. They told my physio, or what she told me on the phone is that they're worried because the way I broke my back is not normal, it's unusual. So they think I've got something worse wrong with me. They don't believe that I just did it by the exercise I was told to do. They think that shouldn't break my back. I still maintain that that's what caused it because I know I was fine before then. I didn't have any of this problems at all. And so, anyway, she said there might be something worse wrong with you, and we'll need you to have a blood test, and you'll need to have bone density test, and make sure you take vitamin D. But I said I'm already taking vitamin D. And so, anyway, that was left. And then before I went away to London last month, I looked at my medical records. I asked for my medical records at the ones because I wanted to see my X-rays, and I needed to send it off to some, but they couldn't show me the X-rays on there. But I showed me my medical records. I've got them. And what they didn't tell me, the physio didn't tell me, although she said that she told me all this, she didn't tell me this thing, is that they also recommended the spinal team that I get tested for myeloma, which is a form of blood cancer in bone marrow. And obviously I was absolutely gobsmacked and shocked, and I found this out the day before I went to London. So this is why I've been so upset, because they think because I've got fractures in my back and the way I did it, they're not accepting the way I did it. So they're saying that, oh, I want me to have these tests. So on the 8th of August, in 4 days' time now, lucky my best friend's coming with me, I have to have a blood test. And the doctor said he couldn't, because I said, can't you test for it some other way? I said like a urine test, and they're like, no. But because I had to see my doctor and the physio, because I'm okay to be referred to for the bone. There's a bone mineral scan called a DEXA scan, like bone density. So I said I'm okay to go for that. I said I don't really want the blood test, but the doctor said I'm not going to force you because you told me you get ill with it. It was you trying to use reverse psychology, basically. But I already knew that I would go because I don't want to have cancer, and I want to make sure that I haven't got that. That's why I'm going for the blood test. Otherwise, I wouldn't, I don't want osteoporosis. I want to rule them out, and I'm praying I don't have either. But because I've got fractures and that unusual the way I did it, that's why they think I might have an underlying condition that I didn't know about. Uh, I'm praying that I'm right because I've been right so far with my injuries, and they've misdiagnosed. 3 people's misdiagnosed me. you know? But yeah, so I've got to have it on the 8th of August. But when I when I spoke to the doctor, he's like, "Oh, when you do the blood test, you need to do your urine sample at the same time." Yeah, he told me that you can't tell by urine sample. So I thought that was a lie, wasn't it? So when I asked for the physio, she said, "Let's have a look into that." And she's like, "Oh, the blood test is for the osteoporosis. The urine test is to test for blood cancer." And then they've referred me for the scan, the bone density scan, but I haven't got a date for that yet. But yeah, so I'm really upset, obviously, and anxious about it. But I'm trying to remain calm because if I get uh and I've asked my best friend if he can give me, I'd say I need his help, more support at the moment. So he's seen me a lot more. He's seen me in the morning actually, so I'll have to go in a little while because I need to get ready to go to sleep to see him because he's spending more time with me because I was really anxiety induced. I was feeling really alone because usually at the moment, normally I'd only be seeing like twice a month, which is once every other week. And when you're going through something traumatic, which they're telling you, oh, okay, you could possibly have osteoporosis or blood cancer. I mean, blood cancer is fatal. You die from it, right? And so, you know what I mean? It's very shocking. I've been really upset and worried about it on my own. And so, that's been quite frightening for me. It's quite scary to think, all right, so if I mean, I hope I don't have it. I don't want to think about it. But, it makes you think about your life like, well, I should be out enjoying myself more because I don't know how long if something did happen like that, I wouldn't know how long I got to live. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of it throws your whole like mind into a tiz, if you know what I mean. And it makes you think stuff. And when you're on your own, you focus on a lot more because you've got nothing to distract you. So my best friend has like stepped up to the plate, if you like those words, and is now there for me a lot more and seeing me a lot more. So he's seen me a lot more times. Next week he's going to be there for me on the Monday and the Wednesday, the day before the blood test, and the Thursday. He's going to be seeing me tomorrow as well. So he's going to be seeing me like a lot more, which he wouldn't usually do because he is introverted. And he does have other people to see as well besides me. It's weird because one of his friends, who's a much older person, is going through some. I'm not going to give away all the personal stuff, but is going through some similar stuff. Like they have to go, I'll just say they have to go for a DEXA scan, for example. And it's like, but the doctor said to me that I shouldn't have osteoporosis because I'm too young to have it. Like I'm below the age that you're even supposed to start getting that. Although I've been told you can get it at any age, but the actual physio said you're too young to get that. But I don't. When I saw a doctor, I said I don't really have any symptoms of osteoporosis or blood cancer, and he's like, I know you don't. So I shouldn't really have either of them. I mean, I'm so flexible, even with bones broken in my back, in what I can do in terms of movements. So I shouldn't have either of them. I looked up the symptoms and I don't really have. Obviously, I have the breaks of fractures, which is a symptom of both. And the only other thing is I'm not a thin girl, if you like, but so I don't measure correctly on the weight thing I'm supposed to be for my height. But I actually eat relatively well. And that's it. That's the only two things. Everything else is I don't have any of the other symptoms. So it would be bizarre if I did have either of those things, but I am scared because it's like obviously the spine team are meant to know what they're talking about, the hospital. And the fact they've suggested all these tests is very scary, especially to dump it on me, like without me even knowing, especially when I saw the myeloma blood cancer thing on my records and the physio never told me. I asked him, I said, why did you never tell me? Oh, I didn't want to worry you. I'm like, but I had to find out on my medical records. It wasn't a good way to find out. She did apologize, but it's not good. So until I've sorted my health out, because obviously I have to have the blood tests, the urine tests, I have to go for a DEXA scan, which I don't know when that's going to be. But I then need to get results of the test, and I don't want to book anything up in terms of stuff like that. Like, because to organize an asexual meetup takes a lot of work. Like I've got courses on it for people that these aren't free courses, they're ones you buy. I've got a free Asexuality Basics for Beginners course, which is a free video training course on my asexualise.academy.com, asexualizeacademy.com, which anyone can do. But these courses, I've done video training courses on how to arrange an in-person asexual meetup and an online asexual meetup. The in-person one has got the online course as part of it as well. But I mean, there's like, I think 109 videos. It took me 6 months to create that course. So it is a course that people would need to pay for, but it's still worth it. I broke down everything I do, and it's a lot of work to do an asexual meetup. So that's why at the moment I'm not organizing. One is I'm doing quite a lot of stuff anyway. I mean, I've been doing a lot of online stuff. I've joined Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club, so I have courses there I have to do online. I've got my books to get out, so, and I've got my health to sort out. So that's why at the moment I'm saying no, because I know that it takes so much to organize it. You've literally got to, like, I hold my meetups in Exeter, and obviously a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to travel to Exeter. I'm like, well, that's where my meetups are. They're in my city, and people do or did travel all over the UK to my meetups. The furthest person I had was from Brighton. They came on a bus, 12 hours it took them. They wanted to come by coach. They decided to come by coach, 12 hours. 12 hours here and 12, I stayed in B&B and 12 hours back. But, you know, I've got to have people who want to come to travel to my city to see me and to be in a meetup with other people. Probably they're going to have to pay to be in a hotel or B&B. Some people don't want to do that. And usually I have to private message people because I can put it in a group. But if you're on Facebook, you might know that a lot of people's posts don't get seen. I think Facebook only shows 10% of the posts to people. So if I'm in a group posting stuff, most people members aren't necessarily going to even see that. And one of the things I used to do is go around private messaging people on different platforms. So Facebook, asexuality.com. I was on acebook.net. I'm still technically on there, but I haven't logged in for years on there. Avon, you know, people that are all mainly on my friends list or a private message, and obviously I'm messaging groups. But I find the most effective way is messaging people individually. But that takes a hell of a long time. And then you've got to catch up with them and say, you know, like some people are like, oh, I'll wait till nearer time. But I create a list. I have a list of people because it's not I don't do drop-in meetups. Because to do an actual meetup, for me to coordinate everyone to come to Exeter, I've got to have a venue, I've got to have a specific time and date, and it's not a drop-in session because I need to make sure members are there and know it's serious, right? And then I've got to pick somewhere that everyone can eat and everyone can enjoy. So there's lots of factors that go into asexual meetups. It's not that easy. I might do an online meetup was the next thing I was thinking, which I haven't done before for my groups. So if anyone's in my groups, my asexual friends group or my asexual dating groups, that's when I was going to do one. I have done years ago one on Skype, which was for everyone, didn't have to be in my groups. And I could possibly do one that's not actually linked to my groups. But at the moment, I have suggested in my Facebook groups, does anyone want to have a meetup online? But even that's hard to get people to go to that. There's like maybe 4 or 5 people in a group that would want to go to it via Zoom. You know, and some people are like, oh, well, I can't use Zoom. You know, you have to have a platform to be able to do it with. Do you know what I mean? It's like if I meet up in person with people, you know, if I haven't booked something up, like a room, which often has to have more people than comes to my meetups, then I have to get there early and try and set up a table. At the moment, I can't move tables around with my back. I can't move tables and chairs. And usually, if it's a meetup, we have to have like 2 or 3 tables pushed together and chairs moved. I can't do that on my back. I would have to rely on other people to do that. You know, and how do I know that they've not got disabilities or problems that stop them doing that, you know? So there's all these things that at the moment I don't think suitable for me to be going around, unfortunately, hosting asexual in-person meetups because I don't think my health is up to it at the moment. You know, I don't know what's going to be the result of the blood test. Whatever's going to be the results of the blood test is going to dictate my life to a certain extent. If it's all clear, it'll be great, but I still got to fix my back, which is going to take quite a while to do. Let's go to chat. Olivia, I have a phobia of needles too. Doctors don't seem to understand that blood tests are a very scary and challenging experience for people like us. And Lisa's utterly crazy about what I said. Yeah, it's really, so I have a massive phobia about blood and needles. I also have a fear of them taking blood out of me. So I've looked on like how to overcome a fear of blood and needles phobia, but it doesn't really work with me. I look at it thinking, oh my God, I can even do that. It's like, it's like look at needles and then look at one being pierced into skin and then watch someone doing it on TV. Like if I go over to my parents and anything's on like ER, I'm like, I can't watch this. It makes me really ill. Just I'm like, I can't see this. Can you please turn it off or over? I just can't watch it. And you know, but when I looked at the phobia, there's absolutely nothing that says about a fear of blood being taken out of you. Because I don't like the idea of someone sucking my blood out of me. And I have nearly passed out before. The whole room, not every time, but the whole room can go grey. And I can nearly pass out. It's happened to me. Like, it's happened to me not just with me doing blood tests, but if I've been to see someone in hospital. Like, my mum once had a major operation, major. I went to see at the hospital, and the nurses were more worried about me than my mum, who'd just come out of a major op, because I was looking really pale. I had to go out and sit in this corridor because they were worried I was going to faint. It's a real problem. And I knew the doctor was basically using reverse psychology on me, but I'd already decided that I am going to make myself have the blood test. I don't want to have it. I really don't want to do it. Usually, the majority of the time, it comes back negative anyway, which is good. I want it to be negative, so I don't have to have any more. Because if I did have osteoporosis, say, really, I hope I don't, but I think you've got to have regular blood tests for that. It's like, how would I cope? At the moment, I keep getting in a state of anxiety and I'm getting stressed. And what happens is this adds an extra element of illness to the problems, and it makes me heal less quickly as well, because I've got the anxiety. I have an anxiety condition anyway, but this just makes it worse. And it's like making me poorly on top of having my back problem. But by trying to reduce my stress and anxiety and doing things like with my best friend going out to the aquarium and going to the cinema, it helps me relax, and so that I can chill out and calm down, because I need to calm down, because the things that I've got potentially wrong with me can be created by stress. You know, well, the blood cancer thing, cancers can be created by stress, for example. So I have to keep my stress levels to minimum, because I don't want to actually have that thing. And it's a blood test and thinking about it for like over 2 weeks that's actually making me more poorly and more susceptible to illnesses and stuff. And it will slow my healing down, because the actual physio told me at the beginning, she said, you need to breathe more and relax more. And I want you to relax because it will help you to heal. And so last time I saw her, I said, this is not helping me to heal now, is it? Going to have a blood test. You know, this is going to slow my healing down. And she basically agreed with me. So, Olivia, I'm sorry that you're suffering with your health and that you're experiencing pain. This is very sad news. This must be a very difficult time for you. Yeah, I hope the results of both tests will be good news and your health continues to improve. I'm sending you lots of positive and healing energy. Oh, thank you. Lots of love, Olivia. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it is a very difficult, worrying time for me at the moment. And it's hard for me to keep my stress levels down and anxiety levels. But I have, with the help of my best friend, I've been doing it. But when I was being on my own all the time, it was really bad. I just kept thinking about the same thing, and the voice in my head would just keep saying it. And even though I told it not to, it's like a devil. I'm like, I'm not listening to you. It kept intrusive thoughts all the time, you know, and so it's just no good. And so I have to remain calm. So at the moment, like, you know, like at the moment, I'm going out. I've been going out more. I'm spending a lot more money this month because I'm going out more, and also I'm buying other health products because I've got a digestive issue going on since May. I was seeing a homeopath. This is after my after my back break. I was seeing a homeopath, and she gave me something that interfered with my digestive enzymes that solved the digestive problem since 2014. Haven't had a digestive problem. Then she gave me something that seemed to counteract the digestive enzymes and stop them working that I've been taking years. So I've actually got a digestive problem. But obviously, stress and anxiety is not going to help that situation either, because that can cause more digestive issues. So the blood test issue is, it's not a good thing, and all this worry is not good. And I don't know how long it will take me to get my results when I've had the test, and then I know what the results are going to be. And I hope and pray that it's really good news and that it's all negative and clear. But you know what I mean? The spinal team have suggested these things, so of course it's really worrying. I mean, like, it's out of the blue as well. It's like just dumped on me. It's no warning. It's like, oh, and by the way, you might be to have something much worse. It could be it could be these things. Although one of them I didn't find out the worst thing till later on my medical records. So yeah. Anyway, I am gonna go now because I do need to get some sleep before seeing my best friend. Thank you so much for being in chat, Lee. and Liam and Olivia. I really, really appreciate you so, so much. Thank you for understanding about my health. I really appreciate your support. I love all the well wishes that I've got from people. It makes me really happy to have your support. It just helps, to know people care. It makes me feel good and more relaxed, like I know you can't really do much from afar, but you can do a lot by just, like the energy you're sending me, the positive vibes and healing energy, and wishing me to get well and rooting for me to get well or to be, better and okay. So yeah, I mean, I just pray that they are negative, then I can start healing my body, because when I'm in this anxiety induced state over the blood test, it just increases the poorliness, if you know what I mean. So yeah, anyway, I hope you like this video. I hope you like the Garfield review at the beginning. If you've had people tune in, they're like, what's this? I thought we were talking about Garfield. Yes, we were talking about Garfield, and I ended up going on to something else. But the cinema is one of the things that does bring me joy. It helps me to be calm. It's a good anxiety reducing technique. It doesn't always work. Sometimes my mind's still going around in the cinema. But if it's a really action packed movie and it's full of some different scenes and things that take my mind off it, even for a little bit of relief, it is still good to have as much relief as possible. So yeah, Lee, sleep well. Thanks for the review. Oh, lots of love to you. Thank you, Lee. Thanks for everyone. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Olivia. Thanks, Liam. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It does help the channel. It helps get more eyeballs on these videos. If you hit the notifications bell, you should be notified every time I go live. By email, if you've got all notifications on, then you should actually get something on in YouTube notified as well. Thanks, Olivia. We all care about you, Sandra. Oh, thank you so much. Take care, everyone, says Lee. Yeah, take care. Lots of love. Stay ace. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and thumbs up. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.